that allows, therefore, nous to operate. Now, this is a splendid notion. It's a Platonic notion. Plotinus expresses it at some length. Now, in all of Plato, all of the dialogues and all of the reflections in Plato, there's only one place in Plato where he explicitly says there's a way in which you can gain knowledge of the self. Only one way. He says what you have to do is be able to get a knowledge of the self in three realms. You have to be able to tap your past, your present, and your future. And if you don't awaken that ability, he says you're not really functioning through the self. Now, how do you get that? Well, in Book 9 in Plato's Republic, he says there's only one place you can get it. That's in dreams. Now, how do the philosophers work, and what do they do according to this work? Well, it is extremely interesting how he talks about them and what they say you must do. And now I'm just going to, as I said before, I'm just going to jump through a bunch of these quotes and read them since we have this as a background. I pray you, I'm on page 243 on to 250, as I'm going to just read several of these quotes. These quotes should fit into what we've been exploring, and especially they should illuminate what it means for him to say you have to look and study the words of the philosophers, and I'm going into that great sermon by Parmenides. That's where we're going. So, I'm now on page 243, what he calls the mental attitude towards the work. Now he's quoting. He says, here's a text from an anonymous author. I pray you, look with the eyes of the mind at the little tree of the grain of wheat, regarding all its circumstances, so that you may bring the tree of the philosophers to grow. Dorn says in his Philosophicae Meditativa, out of the other things thou wilt never make the one until thou hast first become one thyself, just as we said with justice. In the Rosarium Philosophorum, there's a quote, who therefore knows the salt and its solution knows the hidden secret of the wise men of old. Therefore, turn your mind upon the salt, for it alone, the mind, is the source, is the science concealed in the most excellent and the most hidden secret of all the ancient philosophers. Mind and salt are close cousins, says Carl Jung. Therefore, direct your feelings, senses, and reason and thoughts upon this salt alone, on the mind alone.
The mind alone or this mind alone?
This mind, do it again, please. This mind alone?
The mind alone,
the mind.
or
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
mind
Yeah. The
alone,
mind.
the
Yeah.
highest mind.
Yeah. That's right.
Just
Yes, the higher. Right. Then he talks about why you're going to go through great anguish as you go searching for enlightenment. Because the stone will be found that searches lies heavy on the searcher. It's difficult. Now he says, but the author is in fact of the opinion that the essential secret of this art towards enlightenment lies hidden in the human mind. Or put it in the modern terms, in the unconscious, says Carl Jung. Now again, I'm going to quote from another alchemical work, not Carl Jung. Therefore, all those who desire to attain the blessings of this art should apply themselves to study, should gather the truth from the books, and not from invented fables and untruthful works. There is no way by which this art can truly be found except by completing their studies and understanding the words of the philosophers. Now, Jung adds, Bernard of Treviso tells us how he struggled in vain for many years till at last he was led into the right path through a sermon by Parmenides in the Turba. And now he quotes it. He should collect the books of different authors, because otherwise it's impossible to understand them. And he should not throw aside a book which he has read once, twice, even 3 times, although he has not understood it, but should read it again 10, 20, 50 times or even more. At last he will see wherein the authors are mainly agreed. There the truth lies hidden. Quoting Lully, Carl Jung says that owing to their ignorance, men are not able to accomplish the work until they've studied universal philosophy, which will show them things that are unknown and hidden from others. Quote, therefore our stone belongs not to the vulgar, but to the very heart of our philosophy. Dionysius Zacharias relates, quote, right? To devote himself rather to the study of the books of the old philosophers so as to acquaint himself with the very vera materiae. Applying himself to the serious study of the literature, he read diligently, meditated day and night until his finances were exhausted. Then he worked in the lab one day, saw 3 colors appear, and on Easter Day and the following year, the wondrous thing happened. I saw a perfect fulfillment. This happened in 1550. This is his quote now after this enlightenment experience. Turn back, brethren, to the way of truth of which you are ignorant. I counsel you for your own sake to study and to labor with steadfast meditation on the words of the philosophers, whence the truth can be summoned forth. The importance of the necessity of understanding and intelligence is insisted upon through all the literature. Then he's quoting again. In truth, the form, which is the intellect of man, is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the whole process. And this form is made clear by the saffron color, which indicates that man is the greater and the principal form in the whole work, the opus. His thought, however, is often anticipated in the Haranite treatise on Platonic tautologies, in which the author represents that work. Now, what's the way? What is he saying? Do you need alchemy for this? He's saying no. You study the ancient writings of the philosophers, you stay with them, read them again and again, diligently, devote yourself to it all the time, do nothing else, get involved in the most powerful, the most enlightening literature, go back to the Platonic tradition, get into it, follow it. He's describing the psychological process. Now, here's the strange thing. Plato is not taught this way. Here we have Jung studying alchemy